Okay, so hi everybody. We are having our public session on social media and marketing. We were supposed to have it in person, but because of COVID-19, we moved it online. So this evening we have with us Carly Martin and Lacey Keown and Brett Sanderson. So you would have read all about them in the days leading up to this actual event. And I'm very happy that they could all join us and are partaking in this panel that we have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be asking the three of them a number of questions on social media. And our questions have changed a little bit because of the COVID-19. So we want the questions to kind of fit the situation, but they can probably relate to social media in general at any time. So I'm going to get started with the first question, and I'm going to start off with Carly asking this question. So Carly, in the new social media environment that we find ourselves in, what do you think businesses should be focusing on?
I think that businesses need to focus on their audience. They need to focus on their clients and their customers more so than ever before. Everybody is online getting their information and their news online. And if you can remain a voice of leadership and of comfort, of stability, then I think you will be giving them comfort, but also then you will be better able to think of some creative ways that you might be able to meet them where they are. So I think a great example of that would be my local gym. They have a physical location and you go there to do your classes. And from listening to her audience online and saying, okay, do you guys still want to continue? How can I support you? Then she was able to pivot quickly, get online and essentially meet her clients where they were, which is at home. So at home and online. So I think, yeah, focusing on your audience, focusing on how you can help them in the context of what you do, and then moving as fast as you can.
Okay, awesome. That's a great answer. And I should mention too that Carly, you are on all social media platforms, but you kind of specialize, I would think, in LinkedIn. Would that be mostly where you focus your time?
That's right, yeah. And it's a great time to be alive on LinkedIn right now because everybody goes there for business primarily. And so, you know, it's open for business right now. It's a great time to continue sharing your marketing, your sales messages. And that's, people are open to it. So yeah, I have a special place in my heart for LinkedIn.
Okay, so if people aren't on LinkedIn, if somebody is listening and they're not on LinkedIn, this might be a good time for them to start building their profile on LinkedIn and getting on there, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay. And Lacey, I think that I'm right in assuming that you're kind of a specialist in Instagram. You have a lot of followers on Instagram. So that's why I invited you, because I know that personally, I mean, I'm on Instagram, but I'm definitely not an expert and I don't really know the ins and outs of it. And I also invited Lacey because she is younger and has a whole different outlook on the young audience. So I thought that her input was important as well. So Lacey, did you want me to repeat the question or?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So because the social media environment has changed and it's different now, what do you think that businesses should be focusing on at this time?
I think that being authentic and using that to connect with people is really important, not just now, but always, because there is so much going on social media and it's really easy for you to kind of get lost in that. So I think that by remaining authentic and like making it clear to the people that are following you what you value and kind of like letting them in a bit behind like just the brand itself, I think is important, because if they can see like what's going on behind the scenes and you putting in the work and like hearing from you, not just the brand itself, I think that's really important. Like for example, for me, my company 24 Strong, like that's the company, but I am also like the company, you know what I mean? Like 24 Strong, like I am 24 Strong, and people tend to engage more with my posts and my content if I'm in it. Like if it's a post that my face is in, or if it's me speaking on my story about an upcoming event, people tend to interact with that more than just like a written version of like, we have a new dance class on Fridays. Like people don't really care. But if it's me being like, hey guys, it's Lacey, we have a new hip hop class starting, people tend to interact with that a lot more. So depending on the nature of your business, obviously, you don't want to put too much of like your personal life in with it. But I do think that especially right now, it is important to kind of put yourself in it a bit so that people can kind of put a face to the name of your company and remember that you are a real person too, and you're going through what you're going through. And I feel like it's easier for people to connect whenever they can put a face to a brand or a company. So yeah, I would say just try to bring as much authenticity from yourself into your work on social media. That would be really helpful at times like this, but always.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So Brett, what about you? I know, Brett, you kind of, I guess you focus on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram.
Yep.
Not so much LinkedIn. I have an account on LinkedIn, so I kind of do our exit stuff there as well. What do you think about this question? What do you think people should be focusing on?
I think it's important to not be oblivious to what's going on. Like it's very important to like understand what's happening and like the situation. You know, like do posts about what's going on, but make sure that you try to not go all willy-nilly and posting like all way too much about it. Of course, like if you're going to share information, you want to make sure it's correct. You don't want to be sharing fake information. If you're sharing stories, try to share happy ones. And if you're doing content, try to get creative. It's a weird time. We're not at the office. We're not there to take photos and videos of people. So you kind of have to like think out of the box to find things to do. Like we recently started getting recipes from our agents, and we're starting to post those on Facebook. And everybody knows everybody's home making sourdough bread right now. So it's kind of a good time to share maybe some of those. And next time people go to the grocery store, they can pick stuff up. But yeah, like it's really important to not be blind to what's happening, but not focus on it too much. And kind of on what Lacey said there about like being a business. With us, we're a business. It's not like me that's our brand, or you that's our brand, or our agents that's our brand. So we kind of have to build an identity for our brand, and like we keep it professional, we have fun. And you kind of have to use that brand identity to get your message across and show that you're not just a business, that you're also like, you know, like you're not a robot. You have an identity as well as a business, and you have to kind of get that message across to people as well. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so Brett is our marketing coordinator at Exit Realty, and he takes input from, you know, me and Steve and whomever from the company, but he's been really important in building our brand. He's been with us for a couple of years now. So he kind of takes our ideas and puts his spin on them and keeps it consistent and professional and creative. So we do appreciate that. So my second question, and this time, Lacey, I'll start with you. And this is actually, I know that you've been struggling with this, so you're a good one to start with. For those people selling products and services, how can they continue to sell those products while still being conscious of the state of the world?
Yeah, very good question. So even with what Brett had just said about like not being oblivious to what's going on, obviously, like I've heard a lot of people saying that they're not sure if they should just like not post about it at all and just like post as normal or like what to do. But I mean, at this point, like everyone's fully aware of what's going on. So yes, don't be oblivious to it and kind of like mention it in your postings. But I think depending on your type of business, if you are able to still operate, then do so. Obviously, adapt in the ways that you need to. But for me, so my main thing that we're doing right now is our dance classes. So our other programs are already finished. So for dance classes, they're mostly run as drop-ins. So people aren't paying ahead of time. There's no like membership. It's not a monthly thing for these people. They pay as they come. So of course that had to stop. So I at first just like turned to Facebook Live, and I was doing online dance classes for free. I was getting like hundreds of people on them, which is great. But obviously, like if that was in person, I would have been making a lot of money. So I was a little bit torn because honestly, it's more work doing the classes online than it is in person. And I wasn't getting paid at all for it. So I didn't want to ask people to pay because I thought people might not understand the value of it online versus in person, or they might not think that it's worth it or that they should be paying because there's other free classes that they could take instead. So I wasn't sure if I should ask or not. But I mean, in order for me to be making any money at all, I needed to. So yeah, I was so scared to do it. And still like every Saturday when I have the class, I'm kind of like scared to like repost that. But what I've decided to call it is a pay what you can if you can class. So by doing that, I'm recognizing that I know that not everyone's able to be in the position right now financially to pay for a dance class or anything extra. So I'm not pressuring them to, but if people do want to support, then they can. And there's no limit, there's no amount. Like the normal classes are $10, and people who have been coming, they know that, so they're usually sending that. But ever since I did post that, people have been so supportive, and I've been really grateful for that because I mean, I just asked, and once I asked, people were very receptive to it. So I think that depending on your business, if you're able to offer what you do online, whether that's via an online store or you're dropping off curbside or picking up curbside, things like that, just do it, because the people that love you and your product or your company, that's not going to change just because this is happening, and they're most likely going to want to support you. So I think just do what you have to do and what you feel is right for you and your business, and the right people will be there on the other end to support you.
Awesome. I'm glad that's working out for you, because I did see your post, and I thought it was really good that you asked, because you know, it's well worth it. We took that one, and we probably will take one again because we had a blast. We really did. But yeah, it was well worth what you're asking. So I'm glad that you did ask that. Brett, what about us? Like, I know it's kind of different. We don't really sell anything except for our services. So what are your thoughts around that?
I think it's important for like our agents and stuff to kind of be reaching out to people. Like this will eventually go away, and they should be like setting themselves up to get back into it once this is all over. But I think it's important to also not be pushy with people, because right now people have a lot on their plate. They got a lot of things that they're worried about. They don't want to have people pushing things on them that they're not wanting to do right now, whether that be like buying a product or a service, or you know, like reaching out to a real estate agent to talk about selling their home, because right now they might just be trying to focus on getting their mortgage payment. And that's really important to realize, is like people have a lot going on. But it is important, I think, as like realtors, that they would be like ready to go. They have a lot of contacts. They talk to people all the time. And like eventually this is going to go away, and they're going to kick back into overdrive and start selling houses again once this is all over. But it's just hard right now because like we're not supposed to be gathering, and they're recommending everybody stay home, and it's hard to sell a property or list a property when you can't do either of those things. Like there are ways to do that, obviously, and I think that our agents are taking full advantage of those as like appropriately as they should, with like online meetings and calling people and signing contracts online and stuff. But you know, like just don't be too pushy with people. Don't put people in a situation where they feel uncomfortable, because it's really weird out there right now, and people don't want any added pressure. I
Yeah.
think that's important to kind of keep in the back of your mind.
Yeah, for sure. Carly, what's your take on that?
I have so many thoughts about this because I know this isn't, one of the top questions that any business owner would have. And even a week ago, it was a different kind of environment, I think, to think about like, how do I sell or should I still sell? So I think we're starting to feel a little bit more comfortable getting back to that, because the fact is that marketing and sales are the lifeblood of any business. We have to find a way to continue to get those revenues in. It's not really an option. So I think, and I'm aware of the fact that there's a lot of businesses that might not have any options, or definitely not clear-cut options of how they can adapt or how they can pivot. But for those of us who can, I think it's about looking at how can I provide different service levels than what I was doing? How can I break up parts of what I was doing if I had a service that I provided for somebody? Maybe like, is there a way I can get that into some sort of deliverable that they can start taking on an aspect of it themselves? Like, how can I break up what I do with different kind of packages than I had thought of before? Because the option of going and sitting down with someone isn't there, or the budget might not be there to hire someone one-on-one, like say for me. But so I think it's important to take stock of how can I break up what I do in a different way? How can I split, add more service levels? But then also, I think it's important to feel comfortable asking for the sale, because we can't make assumptions. There's people spending money, there's money still being spent. And, whether you have a service that is something that is a need, then you have, I think, a moral imperative to be able to get it out there to help people. If you have something that's not a need, something that's a want, well, people want that now. They want those little luxuries that make them feel like, okay, there's something normal happening, a little bit of a joy that I can have in my day. So I don't think you have to justify it based on whether or not, you are providing this vital service necessarily, but how can I get what my clients and my customers want? How can I get it to them in a way that makes sense for right now? Because the number one enemy of an entrepreneur is obscurity. So we have to keep getting out there. We have to keep our message out there. But of course, we have to adjust our messaging for the times that we're in.
Mm-hmm. I know it's a tricky situation. And I think that as it changes too, that it might need to change. Like for right now, which when this airs, it will be mid-April. I feel like the climate has changed a little bit. People aren't so much panicking, but kind of settling into what this is going to be. And I feel like, a couple of weeks ago, it maybe wouldn't have been appropriate to be selling yourself. But I think people now realize this might be for the long haul. So I think that selling yourself is more acceptable now, because people are kind of over the panic and are settling into the new normal that people like to call it. So my next question, I'm going to start with Brett. So Brett, with so many more people on social media every day, because everyone is at home and we don't have anything else to do, which is not true, of course. But there's an overwhelming amount of information being shared. So how can we, as business owners, be heard over all of this noise?
I think it's important to have fun doing social media. It's like, try not to be robotic and just always constantly selling. It's important to be creative and create content that's engaging for people, especially right now, because people I don't think people want to be worrying about buying stuff as much right now. And I think people they like businesses and brands that they follow, and they want to see them having fun and being creative. And that's really important, because if you're always constantly selling on social media, then it's going to turn people off. Don't share the same old thing. like in regards to selling. If you're going to use content, try to use eye-catching stuff like nice photos and videos and graphics, and try to tell a story that people can relate to, especially right now in the time that we're in. Just because, yeah, like you don't want to constantly be selling, even when there's not a pandemic, but especially now, people want something that'll kind of take their mind off of what's going on. And if you can provide that for them, then they'll listen. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a good point, Brett, because even like you said, even before the pandemic, our brand was not about selling. We would try to come up with creative things anyway.
Yep.
And then in normal times. So I guess just more of that.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that keeps people engaged. Like if they want to follow along with your brand, they don't want to see that all the time.
Right.
And a way to retain them is by having fun and being creative and kind of doing things that no one else is doing. So it's important to be creative and just do different things while still keeping it relevant to what your business is. You don't want to do things that are totally like out of left field, because that'll just turn people away as well. But it is important to be creative and do things differently. And that's the only way I think you can really kind of stand out right now, especially because there's a lot of news out there and people are like kind of getting sick of it, I would like to think. So the thing you can do to take people's minds off of it is probably for the best. So.
Okay, awesome. Carly, what do you think?
Yeah, I would say stay in your lane would be my biggest piece of advice, because if you aren't, sharing a news clip, if you're not talking about the news, then you're automatically going to stand out from what most of the posts you're going to see online are. So as far as your business online, I think obviously we're going to talk about COVID-19 and try and, bring your context of what you do into the conversation. But yeah, if you keep steady with your messaging and you stay talking about your, what makes, like Lacey was saying, you're authentic behind the scenes, what's happening in your business and your normal marketing messaging, then I think you're going to stand out from the noise it'll be a breath of fresh air, just because it's not a news article or it's not someone talking negatively about how they're coping, which, all of us are having a tough time. But yeah, just keeping steady with your messaging, I think will stand out naturally that way.
Okay. Lacey, what do you think?
I had a lot of similar points with Brett with being creative with what you're doing because that will definitely catch people's attention. So I'll speak a bit, I guess, about like actual specific tips for engagement, because algorithms are super tricky and I'm not an expert on them, but from what I observe from my own posts, mostly referring to Instagram and then also TikTok, if anyone watching this uses TikTok, their algorithm is super weird.
We're doing that here at our house.
Yeah, because TikTok and Instagram specifically, it's really hard to get your content seen. Like, let's say you have, like, my boyfriend has like 11,000 followers on Instagram, which is like pretty good. So it's like, so why is it that only 1,000 people are seeing his things? Like, if you think of it that way, or like if you have 1,000 followers, but only 50 people are engaging with your thing, like, why is that? So there's a few tips. The main thing is that you want to be engaging on the platform. So let's say you're using Instagram. Instagram obviously wants its users to be using it and engaging with each other. So let's say you're just someone that kind of uses Instagram like kind of passively, and you just like scroll and you don't really comment on things or like people's things, or you don't really engage much on it, then Instagram's not really going to want to push your content on people's feeds because you're not really engaging on the app. But if you are someone who's always like commenting on other people's things or like reposting people's stories, like you're engaging on the app, so they're kind of going to like reward you in a way for doing that, and they'll be more likely to show your content to your followers. It's very weird and tricky and annoying, but it is really important to be engaging. So a tip that you could use even like if most of the people following you are interested in interested in similar things, then they're more likely to see your content. So like if your followers are from all over the world, all different random interests, you guys aren't really in the same like groupings as far as Instagram's concerned, right? Like if you are let's say you're a real estate company, you want most of your followers to be people who are interested in that. So if you wanted to grow your following and your engagement, you could then go to like industry leaders in your field, look at people that are following them or engaging on their posts and follow those people. So let's say you go on like someone's latest post who's an industry leader for you. Maybe don't look through their followers because they'll likely have a lot, but if you look through the people who liked their last post or commented on their last post, go and follow them. And they'll likely follow you back too, because people obviously like whenever someone new follows them, it gives you a little boost. So they'll likely follow you back. So just like, those are a few things for engaging with others, because if you're not engaging on whatever platform it is that you're using, it's not going to be as successful. Even if you're posting awesome content, if people aren't seeing it, then like it doesn't really matter in a way. So I think that's key. And that's something that I'm still trying to work on, especially with 24 Strong, because our target is young women. So I made a stupid decision and switched my like Lacey Keown account to 24 Strong like last year. I just like changed the username. So all the people who are following Lacey are now following 24 Strong, but they maybe aren't really interested in 24 Strong. They were interested in me. So I'm kind of in this like transition phase now. So I'm trying to be really smart about the people that I follow and engage with so that I am building like that, the following that I want. Because right now there's like random guys that I went to high school with that like don't need to be following it. You know what I mean? So you want to make sure you're engaging with the right people. That's my point.
Okay. That's a really good point though, because I'm sure that's something that people don't think about. Like you said, they could be posting really, really good content, but if they're not doing the rest of the stuff and if no one's seen their content, then what's the point?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a really good point. I like that. So my last question, and Carly, I'll start with you with this one. What's the number one thing that people can focus on to position themselves properly for when this pandemic is over?
I think just being steady and visible, not pulling back right now. I think the people, I was just reading an interesting article that was studying businesses during the last recession. And there was, I think, 4,700 businesses in this study. And the businesses that came out of the recession having flourished were the ones who ramped up their marketing while being sensitive about their messaging and adapting so that they could meet their customers or clients where they were with the new reality. So I think definitely don't shy away. In fact, ramp it up if you can. Be an even more steady voice, a leader in whatever it is that you do. And when this is over, when we start to come through, then you're going to be there and you're going to have positioned yourself all the more with a more solid foundation, because through all of this, you were there and you remained on brand, you remained strong and steadying. And yeah, I think that's my number one piece of advice is ramp it up and be consistent.
Okay, awesome. Lacey, what do you think?
I think mainly being as consistent as you can be with what you were doing before, and trying to not get too off track. Like basically same thing she was saying with like, you want to still be active and you want your clients or your viewers or your whatever they are to not forget about you. Like, not that they would forget about you depending on like the relationship you have with them, but you want them to still know you're there and that you're ready for whenever this is over to help them again or to continue offering your service or doing whatever it is you do with that person. You want that connection to still be strong throughout all of this. I think actually all of our connections with our clients will be even stronger after this, as long as we're maintaining consistent with what we do and what we value. So yeah, I think just be consistent as much as possible. It's okay to have days where you just don't feel like you can or that you want to do the work that you know you should be doing. I think every single person either has or is having those days, and that's okay. That's a part of it. So don't stress yourself out and pressure yourself to be completely working all the time. Like, this is an adjustment, so let yourself go through that. But once you're ready, just be as focused as you can on making sure that you're doing everything you can to be ready for when it's over.
Awesome. Brett, what about you?
Kind of the same points, just continue to do what you're doing while being sensitive to the current situation. You don't want to totally shut down, because if you shut down, then people will stop paying attention. I think it's important to keep putting a message out there, whether it's, having fun, posting creative content, information, all that kind of stuff, but be ready to come out on the right foot whenever it's all over, because it will end eventually. It's not going to be a sprint. It's going to be probably more of a marathon, but that's like something that we all have to kind of be wary of. But yeah, like, it's important to just continue with like pushing a message, and like for certain businesses specifically, people are still going to kind of expect to receive a certain level of service. So I think it's important to be available and, to talk to people, and like, I don't know, just don't stop doing what you're doing, because if you stop, then you won't be prepared to jump back in whenever it's all over. So yeah, that's pretty much just what they said. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. All of those things. So that's all of my questions. So does anyone want to say anything to wrap it up? Any final comments? Carly, do you have any?
Yep, I would just say that try and go easy on yourself. Like Lacey was saying, there's some days where you're going to feel inspired to get a new offer out there that will help your audience, but some days you might just not be able to get out of bed, and that's okay. But I think as long as you remain pretty consistent and steady with your presence and your voice, then you'll come out of this stronger.
I think so too. Lacey, any final comments from you?
I guess this can be more of a personal message to people watching rather than a business one. This is something that I've been reflecting on a lot, and I think others too, is that we have a lot of time now, and maybe you have a bucket list, maybe you don't, maybe you want to make one, maybe you have a vision board. Take a look at that, or reflect on the things that you have always wanted to do that you just normally don't get around to because you don't have time. Like, there's no excuses now to not paint the picture that you wanted to paint or to learn a new language. Like, we have all the resources online to learn new things right now. So I think that's something that can also help you just feel a bit better whenever you're having a hard time, is to take action on one of those dreams or goals that you haven't been taking action on before for whatever reason, and kind of make that a side focus or your main focus for the time being. Even for me, like, yeah, I'm a dance teacher, but I don't really get to dance a lot for myself anymore. And that's something that I've been missing. So there's like unlimited free online dance classes of every style that have always been there, not just now, but I've never taken them because of whatever reason. So I've been committing myself to making sure I'm taking online ballet classes, or learning tap, or learning new hip hop routines, like things like that. That's personally for me, but something that I usually would just say I don't have time for, now I do have time for. So I think just think about that. What's something you've been wanting to do, and try it out. My mom's been learning piano without a piano. So you can do anything.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Brett, what about you? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, like, it's I think it's important to just kind of take care of yourself. You know, it's kind of hard on people mentally right now and emotionally, but if, like Lacey said, if you want to pick up a new craft, now is a good time. If you don't, you want to lay on the couch because you're worried, that's fine too. But yeah, just be safe, wash your hands, don't go outside, and don't touch your face. But yeah, just be careful.
Yeah, all good points. Okay, well, I just wanted to thank all of you guys for being here today and sharing your information with us. I really appreciate it. I'm so disappointed that we didn't get to do it in person because we have that amazing training room and a beautiful new building, and we love using it. So we'll definitely have to, I'd still like to do this in person later on in the year. So I'll reach out to you guys to maybe put this together, and we can talk about different things like, you know, what do you do after everyone gets back into the real world? So anyway, I hope that you guys all stay safe and take good care and have a good Easter weekend. Lacey is my niece, so I might, if we could figure out Zoom for some of our family members, I might see you on Zoom on Easter Sunday. So anyway, thank you all so much for coming. I'm going to stop the recording, but then I'll say goodbye to all of you after that. So thanks everyone for watching. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to Exit Realty or myself, and we'll put those contacts in the comments as well for this recording. And we'll see you again in real life, hopefully. So take care.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.